Yeah, you gotta be aware of one thing though. With the U.S. right now, just 6 months ago, a bunch of my friends, I am actually close friends with the second largest residential property owner in Phoenix, and we know we're looking at Texas now, Atlanta, all these different cities that are also now the hardest hit when it comes to the actual. Look at this. We got the actual. Geographic region where it's now the hardest hit, you can see the southern states are having the most spikes because of the beaches for the health crisis. So you can see Nevada is huge spike in cases. This is tourism, right? And as Ed was saying, they were 85% underwater in the 2008 financial crisis, or you can call it mortgage-backed securities, was just the excuse they blamed it on. But it was actually a whole number of things. I was at the time doing seminars telling people there's 20 reasons I see the economy can go down. That was just the straw on the camel's back. So now you got to be aware that all these southern states are starting to have the most trouble. Then yeah, you can compare that to Canada. But in Canada, it's, if you compare the global financial crisis, it was a banking mainly crisis, financial institutions going under. Here in Canada, it would be the equivalent of real estate companies going under. So yeah, it might be for now looking better, but just know if real estate starts to suffer up north, that would be a severe economic wipeout. And, on top of the fact that oil prices and all this stuff, the economy has already got difficulties of its own, that would just amplify, add fuel to the fire. So I myself, I have been doing real estate also. And really briefly, I went back in 2011. I looked at every single market in around the world, in North America especially, and I picked a city that was across the river from where Ad said we were selling houses for $1. So actually, I like to go where there's turmoil because I see opportunity where most people panic, and that is a good place to pick up. Like I've shit you not. I was literally looking at a lineup outside of a stadium with my two eyes of people having one last chance to beg the bank to keep their property. And they were told 1% of them will be allowed to keep their property. So, I went there with the intention of basically saying, because I was with a bunch of investors, we were buying up, we bought 100 units in 14 months. Okay, back in 2011. And I crossed the river to Detroit and I said, you know what? Let's see if we can get some deals here, like those $1 deals, and we'll even fix them up and all this. But my intention was to help people pay their 2 months that they're behind or 3 months of payments they're behind so they can just keep the house. I would have let them live in the house. I would have just said, you know what, can we get half the property and you continue to have the other half instead of lose all of it to the bank. But when I saw the tears down the eyes of every single person in the lineup, I couldn't stomach the emotions, and I just went back to Canada and I started buying there. So that's where I bought all those properties in the number one city, by the way, on Money Sense magazine today. Out of top 35 cities in Canada to buy real estate, I bought in the number one city. Prices literally have performed, even in the last 12 months, over 15% price appreciation. At the same time, you have major cities falling in prices for a couple of years. I did do seminars with Ed in Vancouver. We had a penthouse meeting space. We did a presentation, and I called literally game over for real estate in large metropolitan areas. And I said, that's it. Price is going to go back down. And that was back in June 2018, literally a month away from the peak. So, it's very important to look at the research, not just for stocks, but anything you're buying as an investor. You want to do your due diligence and see the market in general on a bigger macroeconomic scale. I never visited that city where I bought. In fact, I bought the first building without setting foot on that town. I did it digitally. People thought I was crazy, but I did it through the phone. I had my trusted friend on the ground. And we bought that property. Today, everyone is starting to buy digitally real estate. So things are changing. It's all about adapting and getting with the times, and that will give you a good understanding of what's happening. And you know what? You can pick the number one place. You don't necessarily have to just buy in your backyard where you're used to, and understand, there's maybe better places out there that have more upside potential. And, I've been happy and excited to keep collecting double-digit growth rates every year in price appreciation, simply because I bought in the town for cash flow, not for speculation, which is what most people do when they're looking at real estate investing. They look for where prices will go up. I was fine if prices went completely sideways for 30 years. My property would have been paid off in less than 15 years, just because of the positive cash flow alone, which allowed me to roll that over and buy more properties. So keep in mind that REITs are one way to do it, but I just went straight into actually buying properties, and that's another way to do it. And even now, I'm looking at buying even during this time when no one seems to be interested. Because why? You have less competition. I can literally go to someone and say, hand over your house to me. And, I've had people before. In the hardest hit and first hit during the recession was across the river from Detroit on the Canadian side of the border. And people were literally begging me on their knees. I said, get up. And I ended up not buying from them because I would have stolen the property from them too cheap. I said, you'll find a buyer next week that'll pay you cash. Because I was doing creative financing stuff. And, I said, you know what, I'm not even going to try to get this property from you. You'll get a better price from someone else. So it's not all about taking as much as you can. You want to do business always win-win. But with real estate, you got to be careful, because it's once you're in it, you're kind of stuck with it, usually on average for 2 years at least. And you may want to wait out for a couple more months just to see how things play out and pick the best market. But for myself, when I have a strategy of building up a huge portfolio, I'm already looking at the next target market. I have a billionaire friend who's also doing the same thing. He says you make it, maintain it, and multiply it. And he's more excited than ever. Finally, he was waiting for this opportunity to be buying all over the states that are in jeopardy right now, because this is the best timing. I teach people, buy it during the snow, during the rain, when no one goes out. Well, this is perfect opportunity right now. And, you don't necessarily need to have as much down payment as most people think, when you can do just seller financing and go to the hardest hit provinces and states to talk easily and negotiate with people that are happy to get rid of their headache and hand it over to you. Oh, yeah. I literally bought 100 units with $0 within 14 months and zero credit. $0, zero credit. I actually had bad credit because I had a foreclosure happen. And I actually, without walking into a bank, bought all those units. And now my intention is to go do the same thing with 1,000 units. So I'm actually doing real estate on the side, which is actually just as important as trading the markets, which I've been doing also for 26 years. So, it's definitely a nice balance to have, because you can have, aggressive growth, like crazy growth you're going to see today with options. And at the same time, you can do steadier, more tangible, solid real estate you can touch. Yes, I agree that once you have people losing houses, they'll downgrade to 1-unit apartment buildings. So I had a whole bunch of buildings that have 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit. I had a 10-plex with all 1-bedroom apartments, and I bought that for less than $300,000. Yes, the city ended up going up to 1.3 million, that property. But imagine I just kept it at 300,000 and it's today's worth still 300,000. I was collecting over $6,500 per month, okay, on a $300,000 purchase. Whereas an apartment I had in Vancouver was purchased for the same price, exactly by $1,000 cheaper. And I was only collecting $2,000 a month. So instead of $6,000 a month, you're getting $2,000 a month. Triple the income means 1/3 the amount of time to pay it off, pretty much. Yeah, but you know what? I don't get in love with where I've grown up and where I've lived. Like I said, I never visited. I have a research mechanism where I can actually tap into which markets are the best. I'm actually planning in the next couple months a trip out to physically go into every single town in Canada. So I'm actually going to be talking to mayors, there's something we can have maybe a show on, but we can see that's definitely something I can teach people. My plan is to do what I did before, except on a 10 times bigger scale, maybe 100 times bigger if others get involved.
I was going to say, I have here a link of you being featured on CTV talking about the Windsor property. Would you like to share that video with everyone?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
Wrap up the discussion on real estate.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. I mean, it's. Do we have time to share it, or do you just want to put a link in the chat?
The link is in chat to you privately. If you want to share it with the group, you can.
Oh yeah, you can go ahead, post it in the chat. It's a 2-minute video. I was on the news, and the point is, We're not trying to impress you. It's just trying to impress upon you that anyone can do it. You don't need to save up a down payment. You don't need any cash. Never walked into the bank, never got the application form, credit check, income verification, nothing. As long as you want to buy real estate, anyone can do it. And this is like the most juicy time when to do it. So the reason I'm going out to like 500 different cities is to talk to the mayors, talk to the city council, talk to the residents, and actually knock on doors and find deals. Like literally, I put together, if I couldn't find them, the top deals in Canada. And I'm going to be focusing on Canada only at this time. However, we'll see how things play out with the US, because I may have to change that. And if things start, we see a second wave, I'm actually going to go to the hardest hit areas. Like think of a hurricane swooping in a town and demolishing everything. That's actually a good chance to go in there and buy stuff cheap.